Okay, looks like everything's all good. Probably should have started this. No, I think it's good. I like to do a little check, just because I'm still new to this. Man, it is so hot here. It's unbelievable. If I could clear out my voice. So, how's everyone doing? So far, everything looks good. Got some little news. Let me see, is that on the camera? This thing right here, I don't know how well you can see that. You can see it pretty well. It's actually a touchscreen that I just got. And what I'm going to try to do with it is, well, it's designed for the Raspberry Pi, and I think, yeah, you can mount it like that, and you use it to be able to access the operating system. And basically what I'm going to be doing is have it like a tread, like a tank type robot with a heavy base so it doesn't tip over, and then a very skinny structure with this on the very top so it can come up to you and you can see what's on the screen and basically just like type in whatever, something like that. It's going to be based on some other project I'm working on. If you don't know what project I'm talking about, all I can say is that it's a robot-based project, and that's all I can say at the moment. But it will definitely be this will be like a hardware extension to that project, and it will definitely be really cool. So, 7-inch touchscreen for Raspberry Pi. I have heard that the Raspberry Pi 4 just came out. I should probably close this. Okay, mouse. I'll keep this a little bit open just for the chat. Can I do that? Oh, it kind of closes out the chat. I need to get a third monitor, that's what I need. Can I? No, that's log out, don't want that. Well, I guess you're gonna have to. Okay, that's probably good enough. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I can see the statistics there. So right now I got, well, I already talked about this, but I have heard of the Raspberry Pi 4, and it can go up to 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is really cool. The processor looks a little bigger. Definitely has a lot more stuff that I can do. So this is Raspberry Pi 2. Yeah, the third model is way over here. Here, I should probably. But the Raspberry Pi Model 3 is way over here to have like Wi-Fi integrated into it instead of having to have a module being added on. But so yeah, I can get my mouse back. Blank node.js. Okay, so enter project name, stream to project. So this video is going to be all about web dev and what is web dev and why it is probably good that you know it. Web dev at this point, especially front end, is overly saturated. I've been web dev for over 5 years, even before the huge trend, even though the trend was kind of starting at around like, I don't know, 2012, 2013. It wasn't really huge until like 2015, I think. I don't know, I could be talking complete bullcrap, excuse my language. But so anyways, we got some good old Node.js, and Node.js is basically a language. Well, it's not a language, it's a framework, or is it? Okay, so it runs JavaScript on the server end. I guess you could call it a framework. It's more than a framework, but it's basically a JavaScript engine that is ran on an application other than the web browser, which most engines run on the web browser. I don't know. I think Node.js runs the V8 engine. So usually, okay. So let me break it down like this. This would be a good way of explaining it. So you got the JavaScript engine, and then you got other things surrounding it. So JavaScript is single-threaded. It's not multi-threaded. JavaScript engine by itself does not have asynchronous or anything like that. The web APIs, the DOM, it's been so long since I've looked at this stuff. I know that the DOM and the web API basically have it's outside of the JavaScript engine that allows asynchronous and other different functionality to work. I think the stack, there's the stack, and then there's some other memory. The heap, there we go. Stack and heap. I forgot if that's inside the engine or outside. It might be out. I think it's outside, but I don't know. It's been like years since I studied that. So just think of the engine as like the JavaScript itself, and then whatever is surrounding it aids the JavaScript engine. So you have the JavaScript engine to Chrome, and you got the JavaScript engine in Node, but the things surrounding the the engine is different. Where Node.js has different modules outside of the engine that connects to the engine, compared to Chrome, which has the DOM, web API, and a few other things connecting to it. So moving on here, we got, okay, so useStrict is kind of bit like, it's kind of bit like a little configuration. It's kind of hard to explain. It basically makes it less lenient on the coder, saying you have, like, even though you could code this sloppy, we're not going to let you unless you remove useStrict. So essentially it's making I believe that the Node.js is a transpiler, not a compiler. So compiler basically takes code and puts it into bytecode, and I think transpiler does something similar, but it does not output machine code. It just outputs a lower level of code that can be read and ran in another program, essentially. So moving on here, we're going to take away useStrict just for this purpose because it makes it a lot easier. So when you're working with a Node, well, this is what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to talk a little bit about Node.js, what it does, how to program in JavaScript a little bit, and then I'm also going to tell you different things about being a web dev, and then I'll just maybe go on a few tangents here and there talking about other things. I'm not going to be super crazy with randomized stuff, which I tend to be a little bit, but I'm going to just talk about those three things, and I guess the third thing with tangents would be like, oh, I did this today, for example. So yeah, still trying to figure out the setup a little bit. It'll be part tutorial, part like nuanced experience ideas about what web dev is in this particular video, and then just some random comments here and there. So, if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe, and also to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, like me on Facebook, whatever. I post on all social medias just to kind of spread the word that, hey, I'm doing this live stream. But anyways, so I should probably talk about, and let me open this just to kind of get a basic outlook on this. So right here we have the app JavaScript file. We got the package.json file, a README, and this. This is probably for Nodejs project file for Visual Studio. Package, if we were to open this up in VS Code, close that out. That was my GitHub Pages repository. Just kind of a bit like a portfolio thing I was working on. So right here is package.json file, and just wait one second. Okay. And the package.json file is basically a configuration file using JSON, which is Java serialized object something. It's a Java thing where, and JavaScript uses it as like its primary object configuration. But so we got the main, which is the JS file, stream2 project, description, and then name and version. And then we have author. This is, I believe, for the npm file for different dependencies. npm, which I forgot exactly what it stands for, is for like if you use .NET, use NuGet. If you use Python, use pip. It's basically a package transport configuration software that you can download different compiled or just libraries of code to put into your own project. And I'm going to show you. Of course, before any of this, make sure you actually downloaded Node and install Node. Just Google Node and you'll find it. So I'm going to do a command prompt here. Whoops. Well, actually that kind of helps me a bit because I have to do cd. Okay. So that brings us to this project. What we're wanting to do is npm express, and express lets us do RESTful HTTP calls to our server, and that is get, put, delete, and post. If you don't know what that is, get is for retrieving data, put is for updating data on the server, delete is deleting data on the server, and then post is adding data to the server, and get is retrieving data from the server. And there's different ways to do get, like you can have get with an ID on the address, which is a query string, and you could do like the little question mark and then ID equals 1 or something like that. That's a query string, and you can essentially like send ID. So like let's just say you're getting a user or employee, and you can do localhost colon 8090 / employee, and that gives you all the employees in JSON format in an array. So you can do that, go through each and every employee and find the right employee. Or what you can do is you can attach an ID, and in the JSON it calculates, okay, just extract this person from the list and send that only. So the client side or the client program or the client website doesn't have to go through and check everything. Instead, the server manages everything. So the front end should be simple functionality, layout, design, and responsiveness, and also accessibility, where the back end does all the hard logic, accessing stuff from the database, and so on and so forth. Usually a good web dev setup is the database, backend, and front end. And the front end is HTML, CSS, JavaScript. With JavaScript, there could be frameworks like React, Vue, and Angular. There are some other ones, I think, like Backbone and other different type of like frameworks like that. There's also jQuery, which is not a framework, but it's like a little tool to kind of make things easier than using vanilla JavaScript. And with that, you also have, I think they're preprocessors for CSS, which is like LAS and SAS. Those I don't really know as much, but you can also do those. But yeah, so that's the front end. Back end can be, well, actually, other things in front end could be like JSP, ASP.NET. PHP is technically a back end thing, but you write it on the front end. What else? I think that's it for the front end. I'm pretty sure there's a few other things if I don't remember. But for the back end, it could be many things. It could be Java with Maven Spring Boot. It could be, and that's where JSP comes in. It can be .NET, .NET Core, .NET Framework, C#, VB.NET. I don't know why you'd use VB.NET, but you can. That would be for backend. And you can also do Node.js. You can also do wow, I'm just having a brain fart, am I? Node.js, .NET, Java, Python. Python's another one. If you're really ancient, you could do C++, which I should also note there's a thing called WebAssembly where you can actually run C++ programs and other compiled languages in the front end, which is crazy. But yeah, let me get back to this. That's just like a little. Well, I should talk about databases before I get back into this. And some really good databases are, there's SQL and NoSQL. NoSQL is like MongoDB. SQL is obviously like MySQL, PostgreSQL. You also got Microsoft SQL, Oracle database, and I think that's it. Well, I know there's more, but that's on the top of my head. Let me see here. Jeez, old Pete phone. Chill. Anyways, so yeah, those are some databases. Let me see. Still got doing good on time. So we got users. Well, wait, what am I talking about? So we downloaded the npm for Express, and Express allows us to do what I just said with the put, get, post, and delete HTTP RESTful commands. And let me see here. I probably want to connect a database also. So where is the command? There we are. Probably want to do MySQL. Whoops. Okay, so the MySQL, man, it is hot. The MySQL basically allows you to access the MySQL, create tables, look at databases, extract rows, do different SQL queries, which is, I believe, 4th generation programming. Don't ask me why, I just heard that somewhere. But let me see here. We got that. We also want to do Pino, which is a good logging software for Node.js. Makes it really quick, a lot quicker than console.log, anything like that. And then we also want pretty. Make it so it's nice and pretty. I think that's it. We'll just keep that minimized. Back into here. So let me see. It's been a while since I've done this. I might have to look into this, because it's been a while since I've set up MySQL. Okay, well, I'm not going to completely copy everything, but oops. As you can see, I don't just sit down and memorize by I don't necessarily memorize perfectly what each library is. So I always have like a node project I just reference, just to make sure I got all the necessary components. I just basically figure out, okay, this is good, this is good, this is good. And I always have a base project, and then whenever I need to work on a node project, I know that that base project I could reference, so therefore I can split that into multiple projects and then build on top of it. So I can optimize my time instead of having to go online all the time and figure out everything. But so that is the Express Pino logger. So make sure that's added in. So the Pino, or the Express Pino logger, basically is a library that allows the Pino logger program to be integrated into Express. So let's see here, server. Okay, I do want that because that makes everything all pretty, colorful. I don't need that. Okay, so this basically adds like color to the text when it's outputting to the console, make it all nice and pretty. Here, just wait 1 second. I'll be right back. I just need to figure out, or not figure. Why am I trying to say figure out? I just need a glass of water. That's it. Take me a few minutes. Skip this over if you're watching this after the live stream. If you come into the live stream, well, I guess I'm talking to no one. But everyone has to start somewhere. I'll be right back. Okay, I guess my rule number one for live streams, excuse me, just making sure there's water beside me, especially when it's hot. So, going back to where we were, so we got the logging software implemented, which is cool, but we want to make sure that, we want to make sure that this program actually runs. So, you see here, we got Express, got port. I'm just trying to get the bare basics here. So this app.use adds the logging software into Express, and the app right here that's being created is from the Express extension, which I think, whoa, that is a no. Well, I guess you just got a glimpse of my email. A lot of it is YouTube, so. Okay, so where was I at? I think I have to go all the way down here, and we got the listen. Well, okay then. So we basically have a very basic Node.js server here. We can do app get, and we can call this hello, async, rec, res, and next. And let me see here. Okay, so right here I always say basically a lot, I just realized that. So we actually created a get. Again, you can do, you can do app.put, app.post, and app.delete. And you can do it for the same command, so it could be all /hello, but since there's a get, post, put, and delete, you can do 4 different functions for that. And that allows you to just, get information, add information, update information, delete information, preferably from a database. So let's see if this actually works, and close that and open that. I want a neutral web browser so I don't show any of my information. Oh wait, I need to actually run this. I wonder if, will this run just by clicking that? I never, oops, something happened there. Am I missing something? I think I am. Oh, yeah, the actual Express, that would be important. Huh. Okay, so this time I'm going to do it through the command. So you want to be in the same directory of where the JS is. So you do node, is it app? Yeah, app.js. And as you can see, SQL is not defined. Huh. Where's the SQL? Oh, wow. We don't have that just yet, so do the command again. As you can see, the server is running on port 8080, and the app.listen has a port number, which is 8080, and then it has a callback once it's done listening. So it says server is running on port, and then you add the port variable. And so the module.exports equals app basically allows the app to be accessed anywhere else on other JavaScript files. It's a very important thing to know. And I guess what we can do here actually is we can do reg.log.info. And this is a little different than if you were to not be using the Express Pinot logger, because the Express Pinot logger adds an extension to rec.log. And rec means request, res means response, and then next is kind of a bit like if an error happens. That's why I put next for the catch, in the catch part of the try block. So we'll just put send here, and so when we call this, it'll actually print it, and then we will also get text of message, hey man. So go right here. I want to restart it though, because I just edited it. Control C to cancel out of any program in the command prompt. So node app.js. So local host 8080. If we just do this, it'll say cannot get slash, and that's fine. Usually you would put a Swagger document or a redoc, which also uses Swagger, with Open API to give you like a base API that has to get, put, delete. I guess maybe on a later live stream we could do that, because I actually don't have too much time doing this live stream, but we can do hello, and there you go. We got a message, hey man. So again, looking at this code, we have a JavaScript object called send. We send that through the info, and we also send that through Json. And actually, if we look at this, you can see that there's additional text here. And let me see here. As you can see, with the info, we got that. It also talks about very, very specific things like the URL, the method, has its own ID, whoops, accept language, upgrade secure request, user agent, accept encoding, host, connection, and then it even says that request is complete, and it tells you that it's info. So I know it's a lot of information in there. You should only use the actual logging for the Pinot logging, only for the actual get, post, put, delete. Use next if there's an issue. Like, I wonder how I can do this. Let's try this. I don't know if this will work or not, but var x equals 0 divided by 100. I'm trying to get this next to happen. Let's see if that works. Oh, why do you keep on doing that? I guess it still did that. It divided by 0. It probably has like a variable like infinity or something. I don't know. You can't divide by 0. How do I create an error? Oh, well, I guess I could do this. Throw error. That'll work. Why is that? Oh, that's unreachable code. Okay, let's just do that. That's cool. Okay, so when I perform this, you can see, actually, let me get rid of this. Okay, so when an error happens in Node.js, flow is basically, hey, this is where the error is found. This is the path of like all the different things and everything of JavaScript. So the next basically sends you information saying, hey, there is an error done on the actual node server, and that's what the next is for. And it also says it right in here in the console anyways. So that's a very, very basic idea of how to get Node started. You could do so many things with this. This is just expressed with some basic logging. You can use request to even access other APIs and integrate into this as like a safety area for your front end, like Vue, Angular, all that stuff. So this is the part of the, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm gonna work on this a little bit more after the live stream because I have to cut this live stream kind of short. Still gotta talk a little bit more, but I figure I'd talk about the nuances about web dev and like what to expect type of things. So off camera, I'm gonna add a little bit more to this. I'm gonna add the post, delete, put, and I'm going to put an example on there connecting to MySQL. I might do the MySQL on the third live stream. But right now, so let me stretch my back. Okay, that felt good. Let me make sure I'm in the shot. Okay. So, when we're talking about web dev, what do you think is web dev? I sound like a psychologist talking to you or something. But web dev, when you search for a job in web dev, it's better to be, well, first of all, you should be full stack. I guess I'll go through all the skills that you should probably know. Know JavaScript extremely well. Understand HTML and CSS. Things to focus on in CSS, you want to focus on less Sass, CSS grids. You want to understand CSS variables. You want to just understand obviously the basics of it, and you don't have to memorize every single attribute, but it's good to understand quite a bit of it. You want to understand like just how to basically make things responsive and stuff. I'm not a really big CSS guy. I do understand CSS, but that's why I'm kind of like, you should know this and then this with CSS, because I'm not really big into CSS. I know enough to perform well at the job, obviously, but CSS I usually use Google a lot. But HTML, kind of straightforward. Understand how divs work, understand how tables work, understand how inputs work, how forms work, understand HTML5 stuff like videos and offline content, and you want to understand like the canvas. Canvas is really cool. You also want to understand animations, stuff like that. Also, let me see. So I guess moving on to JavaScript, what you want to really understand JavaScript is vanilla JavaScript. You want to understand the web APIs, the DOM. You want to understand how the V8 engine works. You want to make sure that you understand jQuery is a really good thing, how to do jQuery selectors, how to work with Bootstrap with jQuery with different like Bootstrap modals, and you also want to understand like jQuery UI. jQuery data tables are very great, but don't expect to purely work with jQuery. It's a great tool. A project I've been working on for a while, I had to use a lot of jQuery, but frameworks are great. Three most popular frameworks are Vue, React, and Angular. I would say Vue is taking a huge, like that's the one to really study right now. Second would probably be Angular, and third would probably be React. But I would have to say that Vue is definitely a big one right now. So yeah, those are different type of things that you should probably study. It would actually be good if you understood databases with SQL, how to do different queries, how to insert data, update data, delete data, get data, where clause, like order by, like keyword, just things like that. Let me see here. So we went through databases, we went through HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Now it's good to understand a backend. Node.js is pretty good. .NET, I don't know about .NET. .NET's not dead like Java, but it's not the most popular. .NET Core is definitely helping out the popularity of .NET. I would say .NET is pretty good. Pretty good to study. I'd say study some .NET, study some C#. Avoid VB.NET. I did have one job that definitely liked VB.NET. But other than that, C# is the way to go. There's also this other thing called F#, which I'm not really for sure what it was. But a little history behind C#. It used to be called JS, or what was it? Not JS. It's either J or JP++. I think it was J++. They literally took everything from Java and called it their own, and then they just changed a few little things. Eventually they started to divert a lot more from Java, but basically C# is Java's, or Microsoft's version of Java. It's basically what C# is. Now, I do like delegates, I do like, or some very specific things. Link is probably one of the best things ever. I know it can tax a little bit on performance, but if you don't know what Link is, you can check out my first live stream for Mr. Sovar, MRSOVR, my channel. I talked a little bit about Link in that video, but essentially Link is basically using SQL query-like functions inside of C#, which is amazing for like list and arrays. But anyways, .NET is pretty good. Avoid Java unless you're at one of these really old companies that require Java. Ruby on Rails and PHP and like Python. I don't really know too many people using Python for backend for web dev. PHP is really good with WordPress, and Ruby on Rails I've only had one job that I tried to apply to and didn't get that was kind of big into that, but it wasn't super great. I know it's an older program and there are some older companies that definitely run it, but I don't know. If it feels like really up to me, I'd say .NET and Node is the only thing you really need to know. Maybe keep in mind some Python. I think, what is it, Django? I think Django is Python backend. not really for sure. But yeah, JavaScript and Python are the biggest languages right now. So definitely learn some Python, JavaScript. But for web dev, I'd say stick with the Python. And of course, you need to know HTML and CSS, and also a database. But JavaScript really big, especially with Node. And yeah, so those are a very long-winded version of the skill set essentially for web dev. What to expect with web dev? What you really want to do is, well, first of all, you want to really get a professional resume done. You want to have a good cover letter, and then you want to basically spam that everywhere. Get as many recruiters as you can. This is probably the best way. Well, it's kind of hard to manage all this stuff. Like getting a job in web dev, with recruiters, you want to make it so that, it's kind of hard to say this. Essentially, with recruiters, you want to make sure that they feel like they are winning you over, but without doing that. So essentially, I think my dog's coming upstairs. Hey, Cora, come here. Come here. Oh, she's just sniffing around. Come here, dog. Ugh. Ugh. Come in the live stream. Let me see if I don't want to screw this up too much. Dog. Anyways, that was an attempt. I don't know how cringy that was, but anyways, I was like thinking for a second. I'm like, what the heck is that noise? But then I was like, I don't know. I got myself a little spooked. Find the camera shot. Yes. Hey, we got one viewer. That's cool. You just saw me trying to attempt to show my dog on live stream. But yeah, hopefully, I don't know how long you were there. I was in trance of talking about web development and like the nuances of getting a job in web dev. But yeah, I was just going over Node.js here. Just did a little tutorial in the beginning of the live stream on how to do Express and Pinot to allow you to use RESTful APIs. But to continue where I was at, I was talking about recruiters. And with recruiters, you basically want to make sure that they have won you over, but you're obviously with other recruiters. And by doing that, you basically become very important to them because you haven't said like, oh, I'm with this other recruiter. You want to make sure that essentially that they feel like you're exclusive to them. It's almost like dating. It's kind of weird. But you basically just want to get information from them and then maybe contact the company directly because the recruiter can add a lot of time. My dog is just chilling in here sniffing everything. But essentially try to get information from the recruiter and go directly to the company, cut to the chase, and try to get as many recruiters as you can to get as much information of opportunities, and make sure to tell them that you're not with other recruiters because then you're lower priority to them. And on top of that, pay someone to make a resume for you, a template essentially, and make sure that your cover letter is pretty good. You can have a generic one or a specific one. And some of the nuances with definitely working a web dev job is like if you've never done development with programming or anything like that, you kind of feel like with a lot of Instagram and all that stuff, like, it's pretty cool. You have a lot of games, you go eat a lot of food and stuff like that. And it's not like that. Not like that at all. Like, sure, you might have some fun days. Like, I know for my job, we might go out for happy hour occasionally. I don't really drink that much, just not my thing. But there are certain events that we do that are pretty fun here and there. But most of the time, I'm up until 2 a.m. programming, coding all day. It's don't get me wrong. I have good days and I have bad days, and I don't consider it bad days because I love what I do. So it's definitely tiring, definitely a lot of work. Sometimes it's hard to concentrate, and sometimes I need to put in like 15-minute breaks here and there. But there are gonna be days where it's like, well, if you don't know who I am, Parker. So my boss would say, or my manager would say, "Oh, hey, Parker, we need this done at this point." And I should have a disclaimer. I'm not talking about like my current job or anything like that. I don't want to make people that are watching this and know me through my job to be like, "Wow, am I like that?" No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about previous jobs I've had, including stories I've heard from other people. But from previous jobs I've had it where people like my manager or my boss is like, "We need to be up all night working on this stuff." And so the deadline's tomorrow and something like that. And don't get me wrong, I've been working hard for like months and months. But it just so happens that at the very end is when we put in all the work to try to get this thing done and nothing works. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it works, but sometimes it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like 20 bugs or something, and we're trying to get this button to work like this and move this data here, and it becomes chaotic. So there are days where you are up until like 2 a.m. working on stuff, and then there's days where you're out, you only work like half a day, and everyone's like, you know what, it's like before like a long extended weekend for like a holiday or something, you can go home, or you could do an event with people at your job. And my current job is absolutely amazing. I'm not going to say the name or anything like that because I don't know why I can say or not say it. I'm pretty sure I could say it, but it's a really cool place. It's like a Google type place job over here in Michigan. It's a really, really cool place. So yeah, basically don't think when you're becoming a web dev, it's like, oh my gosh, I made it. I could just relax. I could do a little bit of coding, but I get all this food, free time, all this stuff once in a while, but not all the time. So yeah, that's definitely one thing that some people expect with a programming type job. Another thing to expect, and this is kind of based on the company, is you can work remote, which is a really fun thing. I work remote a lot. That basically means I can wake up and I can go to my desk. I can open up my computer, and usually we have like daily Scrum calls or Agile Scrum with a Scrum Master. If you don't know what Agile Scrum is, it's basically, Agile is a type of practice of disciplined programming, and it's kind of hard to explain all of Agile. Like, there's different forms of Agile, like test-driven development, where you build the test, you're supposed to build the program around the test, and I actually like waterfall development, but it's not the best in the world. If you don't know what waterfall is either, I should probably explain what Agile is before I explain that, but Agile is basically like, okay, so Agile Scrum's like you got like these periods of like a week or two. You're supposed to get a certain amount done, and there's like a testing process. There's unit tests, regression tests, E2E tests, or just all these different tests. And man, it's just a lot of stuff to it. There's development testing, and then there's a process between 2 weeks. You have a goal, you achieve that goal, you work on to the next sprint. That's what they call them, the sprints. And with each end of a sprint, you have a retrospect, and you're supposed to like, oh, I can improve on this is what I did bad. You're supposed to like improve the dynamics of things each sprint, and that's what Agile Scrum is in a very, very nutshell type of way. There's a lot more to it, but again, Agile is type of a practice. Where Waterfall is like just kind of screw it. I'm just gonna start coding. I'm gonna design, code, test, and production. It's like a waterfall. It's like, so that's where the waterfall comes in. Where Agile is like refactoring and it's just all over the place. But anyways, I don't even know where I was trying to say from that. Oh yeah, my working remote. So working remote, I have to do like a Scrum Agile call. Again, that was a big tangent, but hopefully an informal tangent. Basically have so you can work remote and web dev jobs. Again, that means you can open up your computer. If you have Agile Scrum calls, you just do the call. You have Slack open, and you can communicate to everyone and do the work that you need to do for the day at home. I would recommend going into work, unless you're permanently remote, once to twice a week. Of course, it matters on each company. Some companies might only allow 1 day of remote, and everything else would be in office. If you work at Google, it's purely in office. So yeah, that kind of sucks because California has horrible prices on their houses. But anyways, let me see. What are some other things about web dev? Other than the skill sets I've talked about, just the expectations and remote work. What are some like nuancy things? Well, other than it's oversaturated, especially web dev, you'll probably be better off if you were to do like machine learning, AI. Don't do game dev. That's probably the worst field to go into. I'm not really for sure about embedded systems. That's like a crossbreed between software and electrical engineering. Unless there's an electrical engineer that builds the circuitry and there's a programmer that programs the assembly, C, Rust, or even some of the other embedded systems. I don't know if I would consider Raspberry Pi an embedded system. I don't think so. I think embedded systems are like, well, I don't know. It's an ARM32. Huh. It might be an embedded system because it's not a traditional x86 or an x64 architecture, aka 32-bit, 64-bit processor. Even though this is 32-bit, it has to be 32-bit. It runs Linux. Well, because it's something to look up, actually. So yeah, I'm getting pretty close to the 1 hour. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that comment there. I need to periodically check this out. Okay. Why is game dev a bad field? Okay, so I have some. Well, I don't have professional experience in game dev, but I do know a lot of people that were into game dev, and I know a lot of personal game dev. Actually, what got me into programming was game development, and I'll get to the question. Well, I'll answer the question, then I'll talk a little bit about my history in getting into programming and game dev. The main reason why game dev is a hard field to get into is because, and you can look this up, I'm just going to say the abridged version of the story. Usually, for one thing, the programming is stupid hard. Yeah, Unity is kind of easy to do, stuff like that. Like, if you're willing to put in the work and, like, figure out, like, a lot of really, really complex tools and stuff like that and learn huge amount of stuff, and some of it could be Unity. Some companies develop their own game engines, so C, C++, if you understand OpenGL, DirectX. I don't know how many. I don't even know if XNA is still a thing. It's Microsoft's like library that wraps around DirectX, but a lot of people use C and C++. So if you know C and C++ very, very well, it's definitely a good thing for game development. But a lot of the, other than having to know a lot of things about 3D graphics, understanding how physics work in a three-dimensional realm. Of course, it matters on what your title is. If you're purely a programmer, there's like a game dev. There is like a 3D model person. There's a game programmer. There is people that make the story, people that make the missions, quests. Matters how big the company is. If you have a startup, it's probably like 3 people. And trust me, making a video game with 3 people is really hard. Especially when nowadays, when you got ray tracing and you got so many polygons in these different characters and stuff, it's almost like you have one person making like a hand, and they would work on that hand for a month or something like that. It gets that ridiculous. And it's hard to compete with those companies, especially when you're starting off. Like, obviously, if you join a big company like Ubisoft or some other ones. Ubisoft is a big one. But put in the name, put in X what the big company you're thinking of. You can join any big company, and yeah, it's pretty cool. You can definitely work in certain areas of game development. But what I'm trying to get to is that a lot of game developers, after they're done with their game or project, are usually let go. That's what I was trying to say. They're like, okay, we got this project done and everything. We might keep some of you, but we're gonna lay off the rest because our game is done, and we don't need some of you, and we want other people to come in for different tools, development, stuff like that. It's not always the case, but I remember reading a lot of articles like game developers get let off, and like if you're really good in entrepreneurship and marketing yourself, you just join another game company. But for those people that don't know how to market themselves and like keep on going, which is becoming fewer and fewer each day, because we're going from a model in the 50s where we're like, you worked a job for 30 years, and you got your golden watch, and then you retired. Where nowadays, like, we're jumping around companies every 2 or 3 years, especially when you're in technology. But again, the game development fields, for one, the tools are really hard to use. I'm not saying it's impossible. Like, you can learn some good Unity and make some good games off of Unity. And if you're a good marketer, if you understand the business side of it, you can create a cool app. It's a little harder now than obviously back when apps became a thing. But if you're really good with marketing, if you have money in paid ads, if you probably have a few other guys on board just because, or girls, doesn't matter. Guys or girls on board with your team, you can do pretty good. You can definitely push out some apps for Android, iOS, and if you are into game development, you want to do game development, a good place to start is, well, it's good to know C and C++, most definitely. It kind of matters what you want to develop for. There are 3 things I would direct you to. The easiest, and definitely for starters, and this is not a mainstream thing, this is like very off-brandish, but it's probably the best tool I ever found, was the App Game Studio. It is from, literally type in thegamecreators.com. Actually, I'll type it right here so you can take a look at it. Thegamecreators.com. And this thing right here, the Game Kit Studio, is probably one of the easiest and best libraries with all the complexities of a normal game engine that I've ever found in my life. Would I say it's the absolute best industry tool in the world? No, it's not it's not an industry standard by any means. But I will say that well, I'm not going to get too much into it. You can look it up if you want, but it basically allows you to program in a native language like C, C++, or export on multiple devices its own language. So that's a little complex to talk about, but it's like you have one language that exports to iOS, Android, PC, Mac, sort of like a normal game engine. But of course, the other two tools I would say is Unity and Unreal. Unreal is obviously the hardest, but has the most capabilities. Like Unreal, you need like a team of people to use. Unity is a little bit more complex, not too complex. It's kind of been in the middle, and this is obviously the easiest. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on game dev. So yeah, hopefully that answers it. But yeah, game dev, like, if that's your passion, go for it, most definitely. If it's just something you're just kind of doing and it's not your passion, but you think you're gonna make a good living off of it, then I'm always for do what you're passionate about. I know everyone says that in the world, but I think it works. It's definitely worked for me. So anyways, continuing on. I figure I'll finish up with web development. Hey, no problem. Actually, to be honest, I have to say you're probably one of my first viewers. It's been a long time since I've done YouTube. I want to get back into the game and stuff like that. But I definitely appreciate the appreciation of my advice. But anyways, so yeah. I guess, let me see, what would I do next? I talked about some nuances about web dev. Let me see. I already talked about Node and kind of did some examples here. Let me see, what was my... Got an hour, 8 minutes in. I guess what I'll do is I'll try to program in some more things into Node and kind of tell you what's going on here. So obviously you can use the Git. You can, let me see, let me get my head back together. So you got the Git RESTful HTTP call that you can do in Node.js. You can also do .put, which basically allows you to put information into the HTTP body. And to access the HTTP body, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically JSON data that you can put in the body of an HTTP call. I'm not going to, because it would take me a long time, well, not a long time, but it'd take me a while to program, but I'm just going to show you how it works on the back end, not on the front end. But it's kind of similar to how like the Git works. And let me see here. I'm just going to... Oh, wait a second. I have the I got the throw error here to show you how errors work with the Git. Just to kind of show you what I was doing with the Git on the Node.js app. Let's go back. Right here, we got localhost, port 8080, /hello, and it literally just returns the message, hey man. And of course, this is the JavaScript object here. Now, if we had an error, it would display the error using the next. Don't have the very specific explanation of what next does. All I just know is that it displays the error on your web page or your front end client, like framework, whether that is Angular, Vue, React, stuff like that. So we got the Git and we got put. So I'm going to reference this server here because I like to make one, as I said before, I like to make one node server that I can just reference, so makes it easier instead of me going to Google every single time. So I got the body parser. So I'm gonna add in a lot of stuff to this program, and also I should note that with every live stream I do, all the code, well, not this particularly here, but right here, the code that I'm doing here, if I don't finish it up in a live stream, I'll finish it up. Then I will post in the description when this live stream is done and published as a normal video, the GitHub to go to this code so you can actually download it. So you can watch the live stream after you're done with the live stream, and then you can go onto GitHub, and this will be all public for you to play around with. And you can re-watch this live stream, and then you can play around with this in your code. Of course, you don't need Visual Studio. You can use other IDEs. So that's something I try to do for helping people out that want to learn different things. Just to note, my first live stream was how to build your own scripting language off of C# and .NET. And that is a desktop application built on top of Lua. If you don't know what Lua is, that's a scripting engine. But go to my other live stream if you want to check that out. But in the meanwhile, continuing on here, we want to be able to parse our HTTP body properly. I should probably one day really look up what is the background of this and what's going on here. This basically just decodes the HTTP body so that when you're using rec, it's literally just rec body and then dot body again, and then you can access first name. So that's what this extra code is doing. It is I think I have to go into npm again. I think I have to, let's see here, npm install. I think it's, let me double check really quick. Yeah, body.parser. Let me make sure I have that in there. Oh, I hate it when that happens. For some reason, I tried to copy and paste, and it didn't copy and paste. Right click, there we go. Okay, so let's go into install that. So now I have that library in the node directory. I want to make sure I have this also. So I guess a good practice, so I've always tried to figure out what is the best practice of programming, and essentially what I do is I always try, and I said this a few times, but I always have a base template, and then within the base template I just have the bare minimums there, and then from the bare minimums I can copy paste that template and then create a project with specific code in it. And then I could just keep on doing that and referencing one template. So let me see here. We got the body parser, and then the app.use, which again is from Express, adds the body parser URL encoded with extended false. Let's see here. We also want to add body parser. There's another one. Body parser. npm install, or wait a second, what am I doing? I'm sorry. I was thinking about something. Let's go back here. Okay, so the body parser JSON allows the body HTTP body to be actual JSON. So let me see here. So again, what we can do is rec, and also I should talk about this a little bit. Rec.query is essentially the query strings, and then rec.header is the headers of the HTTP call, and then rec.body is the body information, which is preferably JSON. You can do other forms, but JSON is the recommended. And from there you can like access whatever information you can, but right now we can do a console.log, which we could do the request.log.info, but that definitely shows a lot of stuff. So console.log, the rec.body to kind of display the data of the body. And just for the sake of this live stream, we can do console.log request.query, and then the console.log headers. Whoops. The request.headers. We can copy that, and we can put that in here. Don't want the send in there. And what we can do, make sure, oops, something ain't right. Oh, that's a big no-no. Node app. Oh, I keep on going there. I don't like that. And we just refresh, and as you can see, the first curly brackets, there is query empty, header empty, but as you can see here, the body has quite a few things in it. Let me just double check. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I think I got that mistaken. Okay, yeah, the first one's body, second one's query, and these are headers, because there's always headers in a HTML call. Always headers in an HTML call, or HTTP call. It's been a long day, so should probably end this fairly soon. So you have put and get. You get delete, and you got post. And usually in post and also in delete and in put, you want to make sure that you still return information to the client, or else it's kind of it like it could be, well, actually I don't think it would still be stalling, because the get is for getting information. Put, post, and delete is not 100% necessarily have information come back, but it's good practice to do that. Oh man. Yeah, I do. It's weird because I'm using OBS for the recording right now. It says there's 0 viewers, even though I just saw you commented there, which is kind of interesting. Wonder why it's doing that. So yeah, I have actually watched Joshua. What is his name? Fluke. Yeah, Joshua Fluke he's a cool dude. He's a cool dude. He actually, like low key, he actually really kind of get me back into YouTube. I guess I'll divert a little bit from this. I'll get back into this, but I started off in back in 2011 with like Minecraft and all that crap back then. But with Minecraft, what was it? Yeah, I was just doing like I don't know if you ever play Minecraft. It's kind of interesting. I'm like talking to one person. Let me see. Let me go on my phone actually. Make sure. Okay, I guess my. You should stick around. This is good content. Like, do you mean like stick around as in continue on the live stream? Is that what you mean? Or what do you mean by stick around? But continuing on with my little story I was going on. I guess my OBS recorder is just not updating properly, but I'm getting your comments, which is pretty good. But I started off YouTube back in 2011 with Minecraft, and it was okay. I'd say the biggest video I did got like 2,000 views. Just because I misspelt something on Computercraft when I was programming something. But yeah, Minecraft was a big thing. Oh no, trust me, I'm sticking around YouTube. I'm trying to get into the habit of doing YouTube again because it's been like multiple years since I've done anything YouTube. And the last video I did was a really horrible video. Well, not the last one. The last one was a live stream I did, but the one before that was like 10 months ago or something. It was just horrible. It was complete cringe. I decided to watch some people, and then I started to notice this little trend. Like, there's these software developers getting popular on YouTube. And I'm not here to like, oh, I'm gonna get popular and get all this money. I'm not like that. It's just like I was debating the idea of live streaming and doing videos about development with code, along with still being a human being. And basically, what was I doing with that? Basically, just realized, hey, I could probably do this. But I started watching Tech Lead. Started watching some tutorial videos. I like the technique that Tech Lead does. He kind of like these pointer videos, but it's like some B-roll content, stuff like that. But then I saw Just Fluke, and I was like, wow, this guy's really cool. And I just kind of looked at everyone. I don't want to copy anyone. That's my biggest thing. I feel like I'm almost kind of copying a little bit here, but I'm trying not to. Probably because, well, what I do is that I'm adding in the tutorial part of it where I'm coding, I'm teaching you how to code, and then on top of that, I'm telling you some stories about my everyday life, and on top of that, I give you like some like wisdom on coding and stuff like that. But that is my whole entire goal. And I'm still experimenting here. This is my second live stream, but I figured that's a good structure for now, and I'm going to get into making side videos along with my live stream. It's just that I'm a super busy person, so that's basically my whole golden plan at the moment, and just see where it goes. Even if I don't become popular, it's still something fun to do, and it keeps me accountable for like learning new stuff in code and how to like push myself and do things essentially. But I don't know if you were here for like the beginning of the video, but I got this really cool I'm also a hardware guy too, so I might add in some robots eventually. But this right here is a 7-inch Raspberry Pi touchscreen that I just got today in the mail. Really huge into the Raspberry Pi stuff. You literally just like clump it on like that, and yeah, it's pretty fun. But man, I wish. A month or two. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not pessimistic about it. I'm definitely optimistic, but if it doesn't, I'm not gonna be like down or anything. But if I do, well, that's gonna be interesting. But all I really have to do, like, I feel like I got the content kind of down. I just need to figure out how to use like social media to like spread myself out there. But obviously I'm still gonna post on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and stuff. But obviously, if I'm good enough, I'll be picked up hopefully by the algorithm at some point, and people will like what I do. And if people don't like what I do, which, like, obviously if you're not a developer, or if you don't care anything about code or technology or anything, obviously those people are not gonna like what I do. They might look in like, oh, that's kind of cool. This, you can do that, but that would be cool in 2 months, though. That would be definitely cool. I guess my goal right now is I'm almost 1,000 subscribers, even though those subscribers are kind of dead, the 886 or so. But I guess right now my goal is 10,000. You know, just step at a time. And then after that it might be 25,000, so on and so forth. But anyways. Thank you. Thank you, definitely. Definitely got my first golden subscriber, I believe. Or at least viewer. But that's awesome. But anyways, that's kind of been my goals into YouTube and stuff. So I guess I'll continue on to this. It might be a little difficult to show the post and the put unless I have a really good front end. I did kind of show already like how the body, the string query, and the headers work when you're calling into a Node.js server. But again, get, put, post, delete, get, update, add, and delete. So what we'll want to be doing, and I already have some code for this, so I kind of prepared a bit. So if you don't know what all this is a Vue.js project I've been working on. Been learning a bit about Vue. Vue is probably the most lightweight and most easiest framework to work on. I would definitely recommend any web developers out there to definitely start off with Vue and then Angular, then React. I heard, well, of course it matters where you're going to work and stuff, but so I got some MySQL DB functions in here. I guess, like, don't get me wrong, after I'm done with this live stream, I'm gonna put this project on if I could talk. Put this on GitHub, and I'm going to make sure that the code for the MySQL is added in. I might just literally just go through this and explain this. So right here we have the require, and also this is in Visual Studio Code with a ton of extensions, a little too much. But right here we have the require MySQL. And I guess I should have explained what require is. Require is actually a JavaScript framework. Or is it a no, it's not a framework. I forgot what it was. I know it's a library, but it basically organizes your JS files so that, for example, when you have like 20 JS files, let's just say you have a variable A in JS file 2 and you have a variable A in JS file 12. Well, guess what? There's a conflict there because you can't have the same variables in multiple JS files imported into like maybe an HTML page or something like a JS page. Of course, Node works a little different, but if you've done anything programming, just imagine it as an import. I know JavaScript also has imports, but with Node.js they use require, and require creates an object to that library. And as you can see, is that too small actually? I've been just thinking about that. I don't think so because it's the same setup as the other live stream, and it's a little fuzzy. I need to maybe work on it, but usually I saw it perfectly on my phone. So, but back to what I was saying. Sometimes you have to kind of have a constructor. Some of them you don't. Like for example, like the Pinot, you don't have to. Well, actually, there is a constructor. Never mind, I take that back. There is a constructor, and this is for pretty print, colorize true. I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but what I'm trying to explain is the require like creates an object and well, a variable that represents the library of whatever this is, and you can access that library through this variable. Usually you want constants, not variables, because they're good practice. So I should probably put these as constants. You don't want libraries being referenced in a variable or a variable as actual variables. You want constants because you don't want it to change. But going back to this, whoops, that's the wrong one. Okay, that's good to know. Going to MySQL. So again, MySQL works with actual SQL. Well, it has SQL in the name, so. Where MongoDB, which I actually personally like MongoDB, but MongoDB is no SQL, and I guess I'll do MongoDB in another video, but for now we just need to know that SQL, just to kind of show you an example of SQL. Let's just say there is a table with name user. Whoops. Visual Studio Code thinking I'm actually doing code. Actually, you know what would be a lot better? Let's just do good old-fashioned. Actually, well, I do have an SQL server on here. It is not MySQL, it's Microsoft SQL, but I'm not really for sure. I'll just do it from here, just for now. Maybe I'll do a different video with the actual console for SQL, but so to tell you how like SQL kind of works, we got table with name user, and then let's just say columns would be first name, last name, and age. So let's say and I'll show you how to do this programmably. I can't say that well, but I'll show you how to do this like using the query language for SQL. And what we'll do is select everything from user. So let's just say within the actual table you have Parker, Bidiguri, 26, and Jeff, don't know the last name, I'll just do a weird name, Kevin, is 25, and let me see, yeah, I'll just go with that. So we got these two names, and the output from this query right here will literally be these two names. So it basically collects all rows of data from a table, and there's no like condition to only select certain rows. So what we will do is we'll have where age is less than 26. So the where clause, which I don't know why they call them clauses, but it's the technical name for it. Or you could say where statement, I guess, but it's technically called clause. But the where clause allows a condition for select everything in the table that is below age 26, and assuming that the age is an integer. There's custom SQL variables, like there's varchar, there's char, there's nchar, there's date, there's money, there's all sorts of different types of variables essentially, and of course this basically allows you to select certain rows. And you can also do it for like last name equals Kevin. And, well, wait a second, I'm sorry. One quotation, or single quotation, I meant single quotations for strings. So this will also allow for like, well, anyone with the last name Kevin. So let's just say, and this is gonna sound weird, but what happens if the first name is Jacker? Interesting name, but just for this example, we want to, or how about this? Let me add another one. Betty, I think that's how you spell Betty. Oops. Betty Smith. I don't know why, but Smith sounds like a good one. 22. So we have Parker, Jacker, and Betty. And let's just say we want first name with everyone that sounds like Arker. So we got Parker. Well, wait a second. I'm sorry. I forgot to add an R. So we got Parker, Jarker, and Betty. And we want all the rows for sounding like Arker. So obviously you want to remove the P and the J, and that would equal each other, so it would only select the first two. So in order to do that, I might have to look this up a little bit because it's been a while, but like okay, so oops, didn't mean to do that. Shake the camera. Just look at this really quick. I want to make sure I'm doing this perfectly. Like SQL, like operator, like pattern. Okay, I was doing it correctly. So basically what this little symbol right here is saying, anything with the ending or characters, I should say, not variables, characters of REKRA will be selected. So it emits the P and the J and only selects those two because it has ARKER in the first name to allow that. Now, if we were to get even fancier and just say ARC and then have the percentage sign in the front and back, it emits the ER and the P and J and the ER, so it's just ARC. It only looks at this. And of course, there's no ARC in Betty, so she's not selected. And of course, if we did ETT, it would only be Betty that would be selected. So the like clause on top of the where clause allows for certain parts of the variable within the column. How would I explain this? Only parts of the variable in the column would be selected to match that. Now, of course, you need to be a little careful with this because there could be like another name with ARC that you don't want. And that you can also do like and age is greater than, well, that wouldn't work, but less than 25. So you can add on additional conditions to the where clause. And you again could do like and, or, and not. So this would be like the opposite. It's basically like saying that, but it's this. So not this, but has this, essentially is what that means. So that's for select. You also have, I should also note this too, you also have, oops. You also have order by, and I think there's a space here. I'm not really for sure if there's a space or not. But order by, and you could do first name, and you can do descending, or without descending is ascending, and that is basically ordering the data, the rows. So like if I did, I believe with this, with ascending, I'm not really for sure if it's ascending or descending, but ascending allows for, it'll be Betty, Park. This is gonna make me look bad with my alphabet, but it'll probably be Betty, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and okay. So it'll be Betty, Jarker, and Parker. If it was descending, it would be Parker, Jarker, and Betty, which is kind of interesting, and that's how you can order by. There's also group by, but I don't know that one on the top of my head. I think that's when you're ordering multiple things at once. But anyways, moving on here. Let me see, what time? Hour 41 minutes. So I'll say max probably put in 15 minutes, and I'll probably end the live stream here. But I'll try to get through this SQL stuff and try to briefly overview the MySQL in the Node. That shouldn't take that long, so this is probably going to be the longest part. But we got update, user, it's probably another one I have to look up. Again, I just want to make sure. That's the thing, it's like Google's your best friend as a developer. You think you have to like memorize absolutely everything. No, there's Google right there. Okay. Sometimes I get the update mixed in with insert into, which I'll show you insert into in a second. Actually, yeah, I should probably show you insert into before I do update. So this one's really, really simple. Not Yeah, I'll see you later, man. Glad you could definitely make it. This video will be posted on my channel on YouTube, so if you want to come back later, look at it, it's definitely going to be there, and hopefully by then I'll have the GitHub link. So I'll see you later, man. Thank you for watching. But I'll be continuing on anyways. So I'll basically just go through SQL, and I'll probably call it a night. I live in the States, so anyways, insert into user, and then values. Let me see here. So what we have into the insert into user and then variables, right here are the columns, right here are the values. So so you got columns, and then in here you have the actual values. So to insert a new person, we got first name, last name, and age. And values here, we got Jeff, Kevin, I guess Jeff will be his brother, and he will be 30. He'll be the oldest one. So what this will do when you execute it, you got Jeff, Kevin, 30. So it basically just adds an additional row with the first name, last name, and age. And that's basically what the insert into does. Update. Update user. And you would have first name equals Jeffy, where age is equal to 30. Now, you can have as many columns and variables being altered as much as you want. Right here, it only has the first name being altered, and you have a where clause, which I should probably have capitalized, to show that only if the age is equal to 30, change the first name to Jeffy. So this would be altered to Jeffy. And that's what the update clause would do for SQL. And then delete okay. So delete from user where age is equal to 25. So basically this right here would show you that when you delete, or I'm sorry, whoa, I just realized that, age. I need to get like a coffee or something. I would get a coffee, but it's 10:30 p.m. so I need to go to sleep soon. But we got delete from user where age equals 25. So that will delete Jarker because that is what the conditions meet. And that is a very, that's a very, very long explained version of how SQL works in a nutshell. There's other things involved. Of course, you can use the like for the where clauses and so on and so forth. But that's how SQL works. And while I still got a little bit of time left, I'm going to go through this node, and I should definitely explain what JS docs is. JS docs is this right here. Oops. And you got parameters and just parameters. You can also do returns. You can do returns, but I don't have returns in here. So you got the parameter type, which could be array, string, object, string. We got functions for callback functions. We also got the name of the variable, and we also have, when there's arrays or an object, you can have insert options dot table name, insert objects dot values, insert objects dot values dot column name, insert objects dot values dot value. Okay, so this is like really confusing for someone that's just starting off in Node. So I'm not gonna go super crazy into this stuff. Just realize that you basically have an object you put in that is different settings, different column names, and so on and so forth. Basically what this function does is that it inserts rows of people in whatever table you want to in a custom manner. So it's very dynamic, makes it so that you don't have to call like 20 different insert functions. You only have to call one insert function, and it basically makes it so that it goes through all the options inside the insert options. And this is where you got the insert options dot table name, and that's basically the table name has got a reference for inserting its data. And then you got the insert options dot values, which is an array, and each object inside that array has a column name and a value. So if we look back at this example here with the first name, last name, and age, this insert options option, or I should say object, not option, has a table name of user, has 3 values. Value 1 has the column name first name, and the value could be Parker. And then we got the value 2, column name is last name, could be Bidigiri. Column value, or the value 3 with column name age, and that could be 26. So that's basically how that works. And then you got result and rejected, and you got all this horribleness that I could probably clean up, to be honest. I might go on to like an advanced live stream for Nodejs and explain this better, but essentially we got db.con.query, and this is native function for the MySQL library that is added onto this, which of course we add on as MySQL with require. And we have an object here, a class object, db, has some variables in it, but it also has con, which is null at the moment. And when we do db.connect, which is a function under the db class object, if you're not understanding this, basically what you do, if you understand object-oriented programming, think of this as like a class, and this is class, and that this is kind of a bit like a method or a function in that class. And connect is the function name equals the function host user password database. So they're all strings based on the JS docs. The host address to connect to the MySQL server, username to connect to the MySQL server, passwords, and the database name. So the database could be whatever you want. For the example that we're holding here, there's the user table with first name, last name, and age. So this is purely just connecting, and it sets the con, or down here, the db.con is this con. We set the host username, password, and database. If there's no database supplied, it's just host, user, and password. Then con.connect, and there's a function error. If there is an error, then set the MySQL error to the actual error variable, and then print it out in the console, and then set MySQL is connected to false. And this is all in here. These are different variables that are stored into the class object, db. And once you connect, or if there is no error, then it says connected on the console, and then the MySQL is connected is to true, and it sets the con object to the class object con. So when you go down here to insert, it first of all checks db.mysql is connected equals false, then it attempts the connect function that we just explained with the proper host, user, password, and database. And then it goes through, gets the table, and it does a bunch of string functions, go through a for loop through each to get the column name and the value. And that basically constructs the string query, SQL query, to insert variables into each column appropriately to the table that you selected. But again, con.query is basically like in the SQL here, the SQL, as you can see, there's insert into table name, columns, and values. And the columns are basically, in this for loop, it takes the columns underscore values, the column name, and then adds the comma at the end. And this substring, which basically collects a certain part of the string and uses that and discards the rest based on the index. The columns.length is the length of the string minus 1, because when you're adding the column name, comma, over and over and over, and the very last one there's a leading comma. and you want to get rid of that leading comma. So you get rid of it, and so you got column A, B, C, or first name, last name, age, and then the values are structured the same way as in Parker Bittigary 26. And of course you get rid of the last comma. So columns here is first name, last name, age with commas in between, no leading comma. And then values is Parker Bittigary 26. Commas in those two, no leading comma. And that's basically what this does. It constructs a SQL query as a string, then sends it through the query function that is inside the MySQL library. And it constructs this, and then there's a function saying error and results. If there is an error, call the callback function rejected, and if not, call the callback function result and give the results, and rejected gives the errors. So to see how this is kind of called, you have an object that you create with all the proper settings for this, and you create two functions, and you send the function name into this. Or what you can do, and I'll just kind of put this right here really quickly. Let's just say you do db.insert into table, and let's just put null here, because while I might set that up a little bit, probably should just for in case. So var options, what's that, table name user, and then values, and then column name, first name, and then value Parker, and then we have a comma there, and then this would be last name, this would be age, this would be my last name, and this could be a number of 26. So this options would be like the first thing you would enter in here, and then let me see, you would have function error, and you would have that. Oh, whoops, I don't want that. And then function results right there. So actually, technically, is it? Okay, I'm sorry. This, oops, this would be results. And this would be error. It's almost 2 hours. I need to hurry up here. So the results right here would be the results of what you do with the SQL query, and the error would be the error if it didn't happen right. So that's basically how that little function setup works. I'm trying to like show you like examples of like how you could use the code for MySQL. I might either have to continue on with a different live stream, or I'll just finish the code here, put it on GitHub, create the link, maybe have a little description like how to use it and stuff, but I wanted to at least explain one of the functions and how it kind of works. There's also custom queries you can make. That's very simple, but I just wanted to kind of give you like, here is a really cool piece of code for MySQL to connect to Nodejs, and you can create a custom API and don't have to worry about anything, but I guess I'll have to write a little guide to it essentially. So in the description there's a link. Make sure to check that out. You can check out my GitHub, it has a few public projects And also, let me see what else. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the video, tell your mom and dad, tell your grandparents. But yeah, thank you for watching. Oh yeah, announcements. I've been kind of talking about this with our golden viewer of the day. Don't get me wrong, all of you are golden viewers, but you know what I mean. Essentially, this is what I want my direction of my channel to be. One, I want the channel to, well, the structure of my channel, essentially. Well, obviously, I want to project in a proper way, or what am I talking about? Let me restart. So, one, I'm going to have these live streams. I'm going to try to do the live streams every single day. Now, actual videos, I am going to work towards one a day, but it might be once every other day. Some days, maybe once every 2 days. Or some weeks, I meant. So each live stream, I'm going to have a tutorial. I'm going to say what's up with my... What's what's new in my life, not what's up with my life. So horrible. No. I'm going to do updates about my life. Kind of be like a vlog type of thing. And third, I'm going to kind of like drop some knowledge on like nuances of anything. It could be like web dev jobs, it could be programming jobs, period. It could be life hacks, it could be anything. Supplements, I'm huge into supplements, so could definitely help you on that. But so yeah, I'm gonna try to like have like a general like what's going on in my life tutorial and like talk about whatever. Maybe even some live streams I might just do random stuff. Who knows? I might like show you how to build a circuit board, how to put together a Raspberry Pi operating system or whatever. It's just like it's literally endless, which is really, really fun. Something I should have done a long time ago, but I feel like right now is a good time in my life to start this YouTube channel and see where it goes. Video wise, I want to get your opinion on like what videos to do or anything, but I'm going to, well, your ultimate opinion is the like or dislike button. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to experiment with some videos, see how it goes. I'm going to learn how to do some good editing because I'm kind of with my editing. Okay, cool, you saw that. So I'm going to try to work on editing. I'm going to see how that goes. Going to kind of do some random videos, still related to the topic, a little bit of development and technology and stuff. I'll see where that goes. And yeah, I'll try to make a website based around this channel. Maybe I can have like forums, maybe a blog. Blog would be cool. I'd like to do a little bit of a blog. I'll just have to see. I definitely want to make a website about this channel. Maybe like again just have things on it and stuff like that, tutorials. Oh, here are all of the links of all the GitHubs I've done, all the repositories per live stream, because again I'm going to try to create GitHub repositories that you can access per live stream. But anyways, I've talked enough. Here's the ending of today's live stream, and thank you so much for watching this. And again, smash the like, all the cheesy stuff every YouTuber says, but do like, do subscribe, comment, tell me how it went. If you don't like the video, dislike it, give me good feedback so I can grow, and I will talk to you guys later. Now for the 2 minutes of trying to find the end button. See you later, guys.